They say the world is full of critics. And it is. But what they don't say is this: critics build nothing. They raise no foundations. They spark no revolutions. They leave behind no legacy, only echoes of what they disapproved of and what they never dared to create themselves. Look around you. The loudest voices are often the most insecure. And the wisest men? They speak softly. They lift others in silence. They build in the background, while the crowd tears down in the foreground. We live in a time where judgment travels faster than truth. Where one mistake becomes your identity, and one opinion becomes a sentence. But I ask you, what kind of life do you want to live? One that points fingers? Or one that points people toward their greatness? Criticize less. Inspire more. This isn't just a quote to hang on your wall. This is a way of life. A creed. A code of influence. Because the truth is, if you want to lead, really lead, you don't do it by shouting faults. You do it by igniting flames. Flames of belief. Flames of potential. Flames in people who've long forgotten they were meant to burn brightly in this world. Do you think Thomas Edison became a legend because someone criticized his failures? He failed 10,000 times. 10,000. But what fueled him wasn't the sting of ridicule, it was the fire of belief, the unwavering vision that one spark could change the world. Walt Disney? He was told he lacked imagination. Imagine that. The man who created entire universes was told he was unoriginal. Abraham Lincoln? He lost more elections than he won before becoming the man who would heal a fractured nation. You see, the world doesn't need another voice pointing out what's wrong. The world is starving for someone, anyone, who dares to see what's right. Because when you inspire someone, you don't just help them, you multiply them. You awaken a version of them that starts showing up in boardrooms, classrooms, dinner tables, and battlefields. You don't just change a person, you change a generation. But it takes courage. It's easy to criticize. It's lazy, even. It takes no skill, no patience, no strength. But to see someone drowning in doubt, and throw them not a stone, but a rope, to speak light when their whole world is going dark? That is leadership. That is character. That is legacy. You want power? You want real, unshakable influence? Then stop trying to impress people, and start trying to lift them. Every word you speak is either a weight or a wing. And God knows this world has enough anchors. Be a wind. The great leaders of history didn't criticize people into greatness. They called them into it. They looked men in the eyes and said, "I see more in you." They turned workers into warriors, dreamers into doers, boys into kings. And not because they exposed their flaws, but because they believed in their fight. So today, right now, I challenge you. Before you criticize, pause. Ask yourself, is this useful? Or is it easy? You become the mirror that reflects not their flaws, but their fire. You become the echo that drowns out every voice that ever told them they weren't enough. And that is no small thing. That is salvation, disguised as sincerity. That is leadership at its highest level, leadership of the heart. So don't wait for a title. Don't wait for permission. Because the greatest leaders never needed either. They just showed up. With compassion in their voice. With courage in their presence. With conviction in their silence. They lit torches in other people's darkness, and walked away without needing credit, only knowing the light would travel farther than they ever could. You are not here to point fingers. You are here to extend hands. You are not here to tear down. You are here to lift. And in doing so, you will rise too. Because that's the truth they never tell you: when you build others, you don't lose your strength. You multiply it. Because every soul you raise becomes a testament to your unseen greatness. Every spark you ignite becomes a part of the fire that warms the world long after you're gone. That's the paradox of real influence: it's not loud, but it's lasting. It doesn't crave applause, but it commands loyalty. It doesn't shout instructions from above, it whispers belief from beside. And that's why your power lies not in correction, but in connection. Not in catching mistakes, but in catching people before they fall. Criticism may correct a moment, but inspiration transforms a life. So the next time you feel the urge to judge, pause. Ask yourself, will this make them smaller, or will it help them become who they were meant to be? Because people don't grow under pressure, they grow under patience. They don't blossom beneath barked commands, they bloom in the warmth of belief. So be the one who sees beyond the stumble. Be the one who speaks to their strength, even when all they show is their struggle. Tell them they can, and watch how they will. Tell them they matter, and watch how they rise. Remember, A single word of encouragement can echo longer than a lifetime of praise withheld. You think you're just being kind, but you're changing destinies. You think you're just lifting someone, but you're shifting the whole world an inch toward the light. So lead not with critique, but with care. Speak not to impress, but to uplift. And when you're tempted to correct, consider this. What if the miracle isn't in what you say, but in how much belief you give them to say it to themselves? That is your real legacy. Not in how many you commanded, but in how many you quietly set free. So be the breath when they're winded. Be the strength when they feel broken. Be the reason someone believes again, not in you, but in themselves. Because the highest calling of a leader is not to be admired, but to awaken admiration within others, for who they truly are, for who they still can become. We live in a world drowning in noise, criticism, and comparison. Everyone wants to be right. Few dare to be kind. But when you choose to lead with heart, when you choose empathy over ego, you become the rare voice that cuts through the chaos, not with volume, but with vision. Not with commands, but with compassion. And that is where transformation begins, not in grand speeches, but in quiet moments when someone feels seen, known, believed in. For the first time in a long time. Because sometimes, all a person needs is not a plan, but a presence. Not a solution, but someone who won't give up on them. Someone who sees the light under the ashes. Someone who holds up the mirror, not to shame them, but to show them they were never broken, only buried. That someone can be you. But only if you're brave enough to set aside the need to be the smartest in the room, and choose instead to be the safest. Only if you're willing to trade judgment for generosity, and power for purpose. That's when people stop working for you and start walking with you. That's when walls fall, and bridges are built, not through authority, but through authenticity. Because influence isn't a crown you wear. It's a torch you pass. And every time you ignite belief in someone else, you light a path you may never walk, but someone will. Every time you choose empathy over arrogance, you plant a seed in a heart that may one day shelter others. This is how legacies are born. Not through domination, but through dedication to lifting people higher than they ever thought possible. To seeing their worth before they do. To refusing to give up on them, even when they've given up on themselves. You think you're just offering hope, but you're handing them a future. You think you're just believing in them, but you're rewriting the story they tell themselves when no one's watching. And when they rise, because they will, you won't need the credit. Because the greatest leaders don't chase applause. They create echoes. They don't stand on stages, they stand by souls. So keep showing up with love in your tone and light in your eyes. Keep pouring belief into people like it's oxygen, because to someone gasping for self-worth, that breath might be everything. Lead without the need to shine. Because when you light others, the glow returns, brighter, warmer, eternal. And when history forgets your name, but remembers the lives you changed, know this. You didn't just lead. You liberated. You didn't just inspire. You ignited the impossible. And that is the truest kind of greatness. The kind that never needed a throne, only a heart strong enough to lift others into theirs. Because when you live to lift, you don't build empires. You build people. And people, they build everything else. They become the dreamers who dare again. The leaders who listen. The quiet warriors who rise without fanfare, yet leave footprints on every heart they touch. They don't remember what you told them. They remember how you saw them, before they could see themselves. In a world obsessed with image, you gave them identity. In a culture chasing validation, you gave them value. And it changes everything. Because when one person feels worthy, the world shifts. They speak differently. They show up differently. They love more deeply, risk more boldly, and rise more consistently. Not because you gave them power, but because you reminded them they had it all along. That's the paradox of true leadership. It doesn't center around you. It radiates from you. You become the catalyst, not the conclusion. The nudge, not the noise. The whisper in the storm that says, "You're not done. There's still more in you." And that voice? That voice is remembered long after applause fades. Because it became their inner voice, the one they carry into battles you'll never see. Into rooms you'll never enter. Into lives you'll never meet. But you'll feel it. In the quiet knowing that your influence outlived your presence. Not because you took control, but because you gave it away. Because you didn't just lead people, you believed in them. And belief, real belief, is a revolution. So lead with words that build and eyes that understand. Lead like you're not building followers, but futures. Like every soul you touch is sacred ground. Because it is. And if you ever wonder if it matters, if the seeds you're planting in silence are growing, just wait. One day, they'll come back stronger. Standing taller. Carrying others like you once carried them. And they'll say, someone once believed in me when I didn't. Someone saw something in me I had buried beneath years of doubt. Someone lit a match in my darkness, and it became my fire. They may not say your name. They may never know the full weight of what you did. But they will live differently. And that is your legacy. So don't stop. Keep showing up, quietly fierce, endlessly kind. Keep speaking life into the forgotten places. Keep choosing character over clout, substance over spotlight. Because leadership isn't what you claim. It's what you carry, for others. And when your hands are tired and your heart is worn, remember this. You are not here to be the hero. You are here to awaken them to theirs. And that is how immortality is written. Not in statues or titles, but in the sacred, invisible echoes of lives you helped set free.